Hey everybody, it's Callus here with Jimvitational 2 Round 2 Upper Bracket action. I chose this particular matchup, Triangles and Sadlysius, because they're two of my pokey friends. I've known Triangles for, 15 years almost, something crazy like that, 13, 14 years, damn near 15, and I have the utmost respect for him. I think there is an argument to be made that he is a top 10 ADVer of all time. I think there is no argument that he's definitely a top 20 ADVer of all time. He's really, really good, and when he's on his A game, he is not an easy man to beat, and he's very creative. Sadlysius, however you want to pronounce it, one of the smartest guys that I know. He's the dude who coded my trivia bot. He's the man. I think he has a really good mind for the game. I think he's really good before the game with prepping, building, understanding fundamentals, all that good stuff. I think saying I was involved with his prep might be a little too strong, but I was during this most recent SPL, one of the people that he kind of talked to and went over ideas with or whatever. He played Triangles pretty early on. I want to say it was like week 2. Certainly wasn't any later than week 3. It might have been week 2. And I fully agree with the way that he assesses and approaches Triangles. I think he's got the right idea. Now, granted, in that SPL game, he lost. Triangles got him, so the results are the results, but I do think that Sadly knows what to expect. The gist with Triangles is that he runs a lot of Gengar Spike's offensive stuff. It's either that or it's complete what the fuck is this horseshit UU nonsense. Just complete what is this Dawn fan, what is this Ursaring, what is this fucking Umbreon kind of garbage. It's one of the two. Spike's offense with Gar, or what the fuck is this? And Sadly knows that, so we'll see how he chooses to take it to him. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. It's game 1, Triangles on the bottom, Sadlysius on the top. Metagross lead and Zapdos lead. Generally, Zap favored matchup, Substitute and Rock Slide. Fair enough, that might deter the Zapdos a little bit, but he can just baton pass out or switch out or whatever he wants to do. Ends up being a switch out rather than a baton pass out, which is a little curious. Makes me wonder if he doesn't have BP. Ends up being Metagross, which obviously is going to resist the Rock Slide. Couple lefties later, he negates the chip damage from his own Rock Slide. And now we've got this matchup. And the Skarm gets one and only one layer of spikes down before being one-hit KO'd by Thunderbolt. I wonder if that was a Magneton. Of course, I say was rather than is because that is down 2, thanks to Dugtrio. And we've got ourselves a fairly quick 5-5 situation after 2 trappers do their thing. So, we now have a Toxic Blissey, Ice Beaming away, and the Zapdos does in fact have Baton Pass, so it makes me wonder why he switched rather than BP'd on that earlier turn. Possibly a minor mistake. Nevertheless, here comes Meta, and that's going to hit the Milotic, and this is not at all one of the options that I described for Triangles. This is neither an aggressive Gengar Spikes team, nor is it, what the fuck is this? It is more of a stall team, something Virgin-esque, as they call it. Not Suicune, Milotic, but like, it's pretty close. Virgin adjacent. Like most Pokemon players. Anyhow, there is Psychic and Toxic. The doll may or may not have Refresh, and alternatively, the Blissey may or may not have Aromatherapy or Heal Bell, but there are probably some way, somewhere, there's probably a way to remove that Toxic. Nevertheless, we've got a DD and a Psychic, a second DD and a Psychic, getting a little dicey here, and we've got a Sandless game, so the Gyara is gaining pretty good lefties. That double edge is going to mean no more doll, so Triangles might have an issue here. Gyara's a pretty big threat. That's a 60% double edge. Toxic's good and all, but like, what's switching into the incoming Earthquake here exactly? And I specified Earthquake because you obviously don't want to double edge when the meta could switch in, whereas EQ, there is no living immunity there for Triangles, so there's just no reason not to click it. He's going to double edge there in between the Recoil and the Toxic. He is going to Kamikaze himself, is probably a word that I'm allowed to say on YouTube, and that is going to leave us in a 3-4 situation. Lax in the back, that seems... Maybe he freezes it, but that seems like a nightmare otherwise. I don't know how Triangles is going to deal with that from this game state. I mean, blow up on it, I guess, but then you're left with a Blissey and a Dugtrio, and how do you win? Gonna go for the mash. I guess the plan would be to crit him, which you can't do if you don't hit him. So, yeah, just gonna boom, and it's gonna work. That's fine. No more lax, but, like, you've got a Blissey and a Dugtrio. How do you win? I think the answer is you don't. T-Tar in the back. Dugtrio just gonna try to get the immediate EQ. Ice Beam takes it out, so off to game 2, maybe? Triangle's not ready to concede. Where there's a Blissey, there's a way. Yeah, last poke Combine Bliss, maybe against a different set of T-Tar, but not against a faster one with Brick Break. That is going to go down, and it is going to be Sadly taking game 1 over Triangles as we move to the second game. But I'll do my usual in-between games thing. Please consider donating to Jimvitational to build that prize pool up, encourage the host to host this again next year, and to keep tournaments running. These tournaments heavily rely on your donations. It doesn't have to be a big amount. Everything adds up. Everything helps. So if you have $5, if you have $10, if you derived $5 of entertainment from this tournament, then please show your support via donation. There should be a link in the description. Let's go ahead and get on to the second game. Sadly, as we saw, took game 1. Here's game 2. Players in the same positions, Triangles on the bottom, Sadly on the top. Reverse of the previous lead, but Meta does still have the advantage against T-Tar. Last time it was Triangles who had the lead meta. Here is Crunch. Fair enough, Cloyster doesn't take that very well at all. 66% is a lot. It does get a spike off, but it's just going to immediately die to another Crunch. Not a fantastic start. In fact, Sadly even says that in the comments. He says, not ideal. I would be inclined to agree with him. But hey, at least he got a spike down. Here comes Magneton, which is in fact going to Magnet Pull and trap the meta. Not that it doesn't have EQ, because, like, there you go. Did get a Thunderbolt off at least, and Magneton is usually pretty crappy. I was going to say worthless. Worthless is too strong, but pretty crappy in a Cloyster matchup. You're obviously not trapping their Spiker, so, like, you could just use it to, like, resist Bolt Beam or do a little bit of chip damage, but Magneton is not going to be your best Pokemon in this kind of matchup. Will-O-Wisp from Gar getting off, and Triangles is going to over-predict and go for Earthquake there. Will-O-Wisp, again, this time it is sadly over-predicting. However, he's going to go for another Earthquake, so a little bit of over-prediction both ways, but I mean, it's totally fine for Sadly. I mean, the Swampert's just going to sit there and burn, so yeah, from Sadly's end, no problem. EQ and Hydro Pump, fair enough. One of these things not like the other. EQ is powered down because of the burn, but at least it connected, whereas Hydro Pump did not. But now, they're both going to go for EQ, and the Swampert is no more for Triangles, as Sadly takes the lead in this game as well, up 5-4. Last poke, Moltres, going to be maybe scared of that Celebi, and the Sand confirms, in fact, that the Moltres is faster, and he's going to just go for the big boy overheat there. That might have been a Celebi with Ancient Power or HP Rock or whatever, so if you don't one-hit KO there, your Moltres might be super dead. Nevertheless, Flygon does get an EQ off and kill the Blissey, so the lead back to what it was for Sadly, which is up 1 poke, 4-3 now. Full teams revealed for both players. Meteor Mash 22%. And they're both going to gain lefties. Faster Metagross appears to belong to Sadly here. Obviously not anymore after this agility comes down. And he's not comfortable with it. He's going to go to what looks like a Pursuit Tire. I mean, it showed Crunch. You've got a Flygon on your team. It makes sense. It's a Pursuit Tire. Being withdrawn, being pursued. Bulky Gar, clearly for Sadly, to eat that boosted Pursuit. 88% is what that did. So here comes Moltres. Hidden Power, fair enough. Neutral, almost certainly Grass. Flygon, no lefties. Might be a Choice Bander here. Could also be subbing down to a Pinch Berry. Does go for EQ, which is a weird prediction because, I mean, you've got 2 flying and levitating pokes and 2 grounded pokes that really don't like it, so pretty coin flippy there. Doesn't win the coin flip in this instance. Moltres that we know has HP Grass, gonna stay in. Probably doesn't have too much to fear here. Yeah, I mean, Crunch is probably the worst case scenario, and there it is. Just 45%, really not a big deal. And the Tar is gonna go down to the follow-up Flamethrower, so Triangle's down to only 2 Pokemon, and needs to win not only this game, but a third game, or he's gonna drop down to the lower bracket. It is Substitute into, presumably, some kind of pinch berry. So this does make it interesting. He's going to pop it, of course, with Ice Punch. Rock Slide for the kill. Leaves us now in a 3-2. Sadly, he's been just a little bit ahead throughout the game. And yeah, the Swampert's pretty good against both the Flygon and the meta. He's got to be careful here to not get it crit or boomed on or whatever, and he should be in pretty good shape. And Meteor Mash is going to miss yet again for triangles here as the Moltres reappears. Flygon not going to love the... Okay, well, fair enough. Not Flamethrower. Just goes straight for Overheat there, so he does get a shot at second life. Kind of wonder if he should have just clicked Flamethrower there. Did he need to Overheat? That's a little funky. I think that's a misplay for Sadly. The Metagross is at 82%. Flamethrower would have killed it all the same, and then... Yeah, I just don't think you need to Overheat there. I think that should have been a Flamethrower, so... That actually might have been a little bit of a throw for Sadly, because the Flygon should be dead, I think, and now I think he's gonna just come back, right? Because he ate the Salix, so now he's faster. There's the Rock Slide. Maybe Swampert can live. It does not with a crit. Yeah, that was rough. I mean, the crit there was pretty lame, but I don't know that Sadly needed to Overheat there. I don't think Flamethrower kills the Flygon straight up, but... I don't know, I mean, like, you would hit it and knock it into Salic range, and then, I guess pending the crit, you're probably good. The crit was pretty crappy. I guess it was minor there. I mean, the Flamethrower, like I said, wouldn't have killed the Flygon. It just would have knocked it down into Salic, but I don't know that you needed to Overheat there, unless the Overheat would kill the Flygon and the Flamethrower wouldn't. In that case, I guess the Overheat was perfectly fine. Sadly, I assume... ran the calc, obviously, in real time, having not seen the game before, not knowing the EVs, whatever. I obviously didn't run the calc, but if he determined that the Overheat there would kill and the Flamethrower wouldn't, then fine. But if the Overheat was also not going to kill the Flygon, then there's no reason to click it because you risk the miss, and that's exactly what happened. Not going to spend too much time on that because, like I said, without knowing the EVs, I don't know what I don't know. So instead, we're going to move on to the third and final game. And Triangles will be on the bottom again, Sadly will be on the top. This is an upper bracket match, so the winner here has a bye in round 3, whereas the loser will be knocked down to the lower bracket. Here we go. Triangles on the bottom for the third and final time with a Jirachi lead as opposed to a Zapdos lead for Sadly on the top. And that is an immediate Serene Grace activation. 20% Ice Punch gets a freeze. Not a good start for Sadly. Ice Punch happens again. This time it is against a Metagross, which is gaining lefties. And back it goes to a Jolteon on what is obviously a pretty aggressive team for Sadly. He's got a Spiker here. It happens to be Skarm. He gets Spikes off. Blissey is going to T-Wave him. So all sorts of status problems early on in this game for Sadly. The unlucky freeze and then the nothing to do with luck para, thanks to the T-Wave. We've got some kind of mixed offense or balanced team here from Triangles. He's going to immediately Fire Blast there, hitting the incoming meta for a lot. And now Rachi comes in to the mash. Doesn't want to blow up and have it be bad. He does just go for the mash. But he's going to put back to Jolteon here, which is going to Volt Absorb the Thunder. Fair enough. Not that it needed it. It was already at good health, but now we know the Rachi has Thunder. Wish Floating and Dragon Dance. Fair enough. So Swampert is just going to negate the Spikes damage with a Wish. No big deal. It's at a hundo. +1 EQ. And there's a Surf. Swampert winning right now, pending a flinch or a critical hit. Goes for the Double Edge, which is going to do just a little bit more than Earthquake, but it's not going to be enough to kill the Swampert. And that's going to leave us with our first knockout of the game, therefore a 6-5 situation favoring Triangles. Earthquake there, unfortunately, is not going to connect with the Mance as it comes in. Mash there would have been good, but no dice. And he's going to Earthquake again. So not only a... I mean, I don't know if it's a missed prediction before. He wasn't sure about the Salamence, but I don't know. Wasn't able to predict the Mence, and then he over-predicts. Stays in, goes for EQ again. This is kind of falling apart for Sadly, unfortunately. Does get a Will-O-Wisp off, so yeah, I guess a little bit of over-prediction both ways. He's going to go for the Brick Break. He's going to stay in and Brick Break against a Ghost and find himself burnt. That's not great, but maybe the Blissey has Aromatherapy. Hard to say, but the Mence there took quite a bit of chip damage that it maybe didn't need to. It got down to about half health and it's still burnt, so we might have a game here. He's also going to thaw him out by Fire Blasting into the Frozen Poke, so being a homie, felt bad about that freeze earlier. He's like, man, let me help you with that. and undoes his own hacks by fire blasting into the frozen dude. So yeah, we've got ourselves a close one. That T-Wave is not great because now an S-Toss can just finish him off, and obviously he has no chance of being faster when he's paralyzed. He's not ready to give it up though. He's going to either try to lefties nurse it up or he's going to use it as fodder, but he doesn't just let it die there. And layer number 2 of Spikes comes down. Currently, Triangles has not shown a Pokemon with Rapid Spin. He does still have one unrevealed in the back. It could be a Starmie. I don't think it would be Claydol in this structure. It doesn't make any sense, but it also could totally not be Starmie, and he might just have to live with these Spikes. Right now, we've got 3 layers down. Know what else is down? The Skarmory. So the lead gets bigger for Triangles. 6-4. Jolteon comes in. S-Toss. Probably didn't go for T-Wave there out of fear of a substitute. Roar is going to kill the Swampert via the Spikes, and the Blissey, of course, makes a return appearance. Now Meta comes in, thinking it'll be T-Wave. Well played by Sadly, getting lefties back on that. Still not quite out of S-Toss range, but with one more lefties gain, he could get there, and then maybe the Meta could get a boom or some kind of last-ditch move off. Gengar on Mence now, sure. Taunt doesn't change anything. The Mence, if it were to stay in, is obviously not going to do anything other than attack. And back he goes, and the reason for that, awkwardly, is actually because the Salamence is faster than the Gengar, so we might be looking at a Gengar that's sitting like right at 300 or something, creeping on it, 302, 303, whatever, whereas it might be a jolly CB Mence with max speed. So it doesn't happen too often that Salamence is faster than Gengar, but in this case, it is. So we find ourselves in a 4-3 game state with Triangles in the lead, and he still hasn't shown his last poke. Another Roar here is just going to drag out the Blissey, so we still don't know what the hidden poke is in the back, but the Jolteon is pretty low. T-Wave, okay, gets the full para, so Jolteon lives to fight another day. What will he do with that? He's going to go for Thunderbolt, but the Jolteon is no more, and sadly is running out of options here. He is going to be finally out of Seismic Toss range thanks to the lefties gain. Goes for EQ. Okay, guess I had that wrong. Guess it doesn't have as much HP as I thought that it might. Fair enough, so it's only Gengar now. Taunt going to try to prevent a Soft-Boiled or a T-Wave, both of which would be devastating here, and he is successful in doing that. Giga Drain is not going to be exciting given the circumstances, but the moves are what they are. Thunderbolt there, giving him an opportunity. That's the game. Needed to taunt. That Thunder Wave is effectively going to end it. He made a prediction, and it's going to come back to bite him. Calm Mind, sure. Thunderbolt, I was going to say it would need a crit, but like clockwork, there you go. There's your crit, but regardless, the Cheetar and the inevitably faster last poke, thanks to the para, should be able to finish this without an issue. Certainly a crunch with a critical hit is going to do it. And yeah, kind of sort of as I said, I didn't want to be too hard on the players because they're both good, I like them, blah blah blah, but the comments at the end of this, other than them both being good sports and saying GG, Sadly says I messed up, and Triangle says we both did a lot. Kind of agree. Not a perfect game on this one. The set overall pretty good, pretty entertaining, but I did see a little bit of slop and a little bit of mistakes in this one. I can't help but wonder what could have been if he had gone for the taunt rather than the overprediction Thunderbolt with the Gengar at the end and not let that T-Wave get off, but it probably doesn't make a difference. I mean, how do you beat the Pursuit Tower? I guess you like maybe you Giga Drain it, you maybe eat a crunch and stay at whatever 10%, 15%, and then you crit Giga Drain him, get some health back, kill him. And then the last poke for Triangles is something that the Gengar can easily beat. I don't know what that would be necessarily, but I don't know, some random weak to Thunderbolt thing, and you just like immediately crit it with Thunderbolt, or you paralyze it or something. Probably with where the game state was, Triangles was going to win anyway, but this was not the finest game from either party. Nevertheless, cool set. 2-1 victory for Triangles over Sadly. He's going to remain in the upper bracket with a bye. Sadly is going to go down to the lower bracket. I've got a YouTube channel, youtube.com/CallusNarrates. I upload all the time in 2017 or so. But you can still subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video.